was going to say something cool, but now I can't remember what it was. It escapes me. So Harry's 4th year at Hogwarts is about to start, and he's spending the summer before at his home with the Dursleys, who are treating him worse than ever. He spends most of his time writing letters to his friends, Ron and Hermione, till one day he gets a letter inviting him to watch the Quidditch World Cup final. What's Quidditch? Well, think of it like the Harry Potter version of soccer or football, depending on what part of the world you're from. Anyway, they arrive at the campsite to find that there's already a lot of commotion going on. There's people dressed up in really scary masks. Tents are getting destroyed. And then suddenly, the Irish team starts losing against the Bulgarian team. But just as the Irish are about to concede defeat, Viktor Krum, a famous young wizard from Bulgaria, makes an awesome catch to win the game for his team. After this, Harry and his friends decide to head back to their tents for the night. But when they get there, they find it destroyed, along with all of the other tents belonging to the non-European wizards. And if that wasn't bad enough, they look up into the sky to see the dark mark, a giant skull with a snake hissing through its fangs, which means only one thing: Lord Voldemort and his gang of Death Eaters have struck again. An event that happens once every 5 years, where 3 schools of magic compete against each other in dangerous tasks in exchange for a huge trophy. This year, Hogwarts will be joined by 2 new schools, Box-Battens, which is run by female witches, and Durmstrang, which is run by male wizards. Now, normally, these tournaments are really extravagant affairs, but ever since Voldemort came back last year, everyone's kind of been on edge, unsure whether or not he might show up and cause trouble. But regardless, the preparation for the Triwizard tournament goes on, including setting up a large tent outside the school for the visiting students and teachers, as well as rigging up a bunch of protective enchantments to keep everyone safe. At the welcoming feast, each school gets a chance to speak. And when it's Hogwarts' turn, Headmaster Dumbledore speaks a bit about the upcoming tournament, as well as the importance of sportsmanship. It's pretty inspiring stuff, even if it doesn't stop Karkaroff, the creepy headmaster of Durmstrang, from trying to steal some first years. And when the feast is over, the topic of the Triwizard tournament is still on everyone's minds. The champions from each school will be selected the next day during a special ceremony. And before it happens, Harry has a nightmare about Voldemort, which puts him off his game. But in spite of this, he's joined by Ron and Hermione as they make their way down to the dungeons to meet with Hagrid, who's helping to organize the tournament. As they walk, Hagrid explains how the champions will be chosen by an enchanted goblet, an object that hasn't been used in almost a century because it's so unpredictable. When they arrive, they find the goblet sitting atop a table, surrounded by 3 champions, 1 from each school. But before anyone can put their name in, a 4th empty pedestal lights up. And when the goblet of fire erupts, it shoots out 4 names, the 3 expected: Cedric Diggory from Hogwarts, Fleur Delacour from Box-Battens, and Viktor Krum from Durmstrang, and the unexpected Harry Potter. For a moment, no one knows what to do, but when the goblet erupts again, everyone realizes that there's no changing its mind. So because of his close ties to Dumbledore, Harry is chosen to be the 4th champion. With all 4 champions selected, we fast forward a few days to the day of the first task. And to say everyone is nervous would be a bit of an understatement. First, we've got Ron's sister, Ginny, who's been acting strange and following Harry around everywhere. Then we got Hermione, who's mad at Ron for saying that Harry should pull out of the competition. Oh, and then we got the champions, who are anxiously waiting to hear what their first task will be. To calm everyone's nerves, Dumbledore decides to explain how the task system works. Each champion will be given a dragon egg, and then they'll be sent into a large tent where a dragon is loose. Their job is to steal one of the dragon's 3 golden eggs while staying alive, which in theory should be pretty easy since the dragons will be asleep. But when they wake up, things could get a little tricky. With all of the rules explained, it's time for the first task to begin. And one by one, each champion enters the tent with their assigned dragon. And when it's Harry's turn, he looks down to see a ferocious-looking Ukrainian Ironblee. Because Harry is such a natural, he easily manages to collect his egg without getting roasted alive. And when he comes out of the tent, he's greeted by cheers from the crowd, which gives him a much-needed confidence boost. Later that night, during a debriefing meeting with Dumbledore, Harry learns that the judges thought he did a fantastic job. In fact, he received the 2nd highest score, only beaten out by Viktor Krum, Still, Harry's having a hard time accepting his accomplishment, since his mind keeps replaying the terrifying events from inside the tent. But luckily, Dumbledore is able to offer some friendly advice, which helps to calm him down. But Harry's problems are soon forgotten about when he hears a knock on his bedroom door. And when he opens it, he sees none other than Parvati Patel, asking him if he wants to go with her and Hermione to the Yule Ball, a fancy dance that's hosted near the end of every school year. Although Harry likes the idea, he refuses to go unless Ron lets him be his date's escort, which he eventually does. So that's settled then. Harry's got a date for the Yule Ball. At the stroke of midnight, Ron and Hermione come bursting through the doors to let Harry know that Barty Crouch Jr., one of the weirder Death Eaters, was just spotted on the school grounds. Although caught, he managed to escape using a portkey, which takes me back to that Triwizard tournament. Because the tasks were so dangerous, the champions had to be accompanied by a mentor throughout the entire ordeal. And as luck would have it, Crouch Jr. had somehow become Harry's mentor. But despite all of the evidence pointing to Crouch Jr. being a Death Eater, nobody seems to believe Hermione, especially since Crouch SR, the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, is vehemently denying it. Not wanting to cause any more trouble, Harry asks Dumbledore if he can switch mentors, to which he agrees. And in a very surprising move, Dumbledore assigns Elasta Moody, a gruff old Auror, to take over. With Moody now by his side, Harry learns that the second task of the Triwizard tournament will be taking place in 1 week. And just to make things more interesting, Dumbledore informs them that this time the champions will be required to rescue someone they love from underwater. With the stakes now higher than ever, Harry seeks out Moody to ask for some advice, but is surprised to find him uncharacteristically drunk. I won't spoil exactly what happens next, but it has to do with a mysterious blue light that appears on the Black Lake, which turns out to be a portkey. When Harry touches it, he's transported to a dark cave full of creepy merpeople. And if that wasn't bad enough, he's also brought right to the doorstep of the second task, which requires him to rescue his date from underwater. Now, I won't spoil too much, but in a heroic move, Harry ends up sacrificing his own air supply to save the life of his date. And when he resurfaces, he's saved by Moody, who hands him a glowing green vial and tells him to drink it. Now, although he didn't win the task, Harry is still praised by the judges for his bravery, and after receiving the antidote to the bewitching potion he was given, he's reunited with Parvati, who's thankful for his heroic actions. With the second task complete, it's time to focus on the third and final task, which will take place in just 2 weeks.
Ow!
In order to prepare, Harry goes to see Dumbledore, who warns him that he'll be facing his worst fears. But in spite of this, Harry feels ready, thanks in part to some helpful tips from Moody. Now, unfortunately, I'll have to leave out the details of the third task, but long story short, Harry finds himself running through an elaborate hedge maze where he has to find Voldemort's Horcrux, an object containing a piece of Voldemort's soul in order to win the tournament. Along the way, he runs into a few friends, including Cedric Diggory, who's helping him out, but ends up being murdered by Peter Pettigrew, a rat who also happens to be a Death Eater. And if that wasn't bad enough, Harry is then confronted by Voldemort, who reveals that he was the one who put his name in the Goblet of Fire. After some convincing, Harry ends up agreeing to help bring Voldemort back to power, which ends up being a trap. Just as Harry is about to hand over the Horcrux, Moody steps in to save him. But just as he's about to fight Voldemort, he pulls out his wand and reveals himself to actually be Barty Crouch Jr. And with the identity of Moody revealed, Pettigrew flees, leaving Harry and Voldemort alone in the clearing. And in an effort to kill Harry, Voldemort uses a spell that causes his wand to backfire, leaving him with severe injuries. Luckily though, Harry is able to stumble his way back to the maze exit, where he's reunited with Moody, who helps him get back to the castle. And when he wakes up in the infirmary, he learns that Dumbledore was able to banish Pettigrew back to his rat form, but the damage is done. When the Triwizard tournament results are announced, it ends up being declared a draw. With the Triwizard tournament over, Harry is finally able to focus on the revelation that Voldemort is back, leading us right into the next movie.